Every series has an ending, but this one was never really about ending. It was about building income, systems, building something useful, something that could keep working when you were tired, distracted, or gone. We started with the boring businesses most people ignore, the quiet machines, laundromats, storage units, vending routes, cleaning services, parking lots, portable toilets, etc. Businesses that don't look glamorous or go viral, businesses that don't need applause. They just solve problems. They collect small payments and create cash flow. And when they're built correctly, they become something much bigger than a side hustle. They become a wealth machine. But cash flow is only the beginning because money without structure can disappear. A business without systems can collapse. Ownership without protection can become a lawsuit, and wealth without a plan can become a fight between the people you love most. That's why this final chapter matters. It's not just about another episode. This is the closing piece. The income, the systems, legal structure, asset protection, operating agreements, insurance, the trusts, the family plan. Everything we built has been leading here. So yes, this one is going to be longer. It needs to be, because this is the episode where we slow down and answer the questions most people avoid until it's too late. After you build the machine, who controls it? Who protects it? Who understands it? Who inherits it? Who keeps it alive? And if the answer is, I don't know yet, then the machine is not finished. Nobody wants to talk about death or family conflict, taxes, courts, lawyers, probate, disability, or what happens if the one person holding the whole business together suddenly cannot answer the phone. But real builders talk about it because real builders do not just ask, how do I make money? They ask, how do I protect it? How do I pass it on? They ask, how do I make sure the people I love do not have to start from zero? This is our series finale, the final exam, and it's open book. You spent years building something simple. You clean buildings while the world sleeps. You rent out parking spaces. You deliver portable toilets to construction sites, festivals, and job sites where no one wants to think about sanitation, but everyone needs it. You didn't invent the next app. You didn't chase some shiny trend. You built what we call a boring business. And boring business prints cash. It is simple. It is useful. It is yours. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A business that depends entirely on you is not a real business yet. It's a job that you own. If the business only works because you answer every call, solve every problem, handle every customer, and make every decision, then the business is still trapped inside your head. And if everything is trapped inside your head, your family cannot inherit a system. They inherit confusion. So the goal is simple. Turn your business from something you personally carry into something that can keep running with written rules, trained people, clean records, and a clear plan. In part four, we talked about asset protection and privacy. That was the fortress, the limited liability companies, clean operating agreements, the separation between your personal life and your business life, and the legal walls that keep outside problems from becoming inside disasters. That fortress matters. But legacy planning is not only about the walls, it's about the bridge. You see, the fortress protects what you own while you are alive. The bridge controls where it goes when you are gone. If you only build the fortress, your assets may be protected today, but your family may be still lost tomorrow. Legacy planning connects both sides. It protects the business now, and it gives your family a clear path later. Because without that bridge, one of two things usually happens. One, taxes take a painful piece of what you build. Or two, your heirs end up confused, fighting, waiting, and paying lawyers while a public court process picks through your life's work. That public process is called probate. Now, probate is not always evil, but it can be slow, public and expensive. And that matters because a business cannot always wait. Employees still need to be paid, customers still need service, bills still come due, and equipment still needs maintenance. If your family has to wait months just to get legal authority, the business may lose value before they can even touch it. That's why we try to avoid probate when possible. Not because we're hiding anything, but because delay destroys businesses. So we are building the bridge now, not when you're 60, not when the business is big enough, not someday, now. Because the same basic structure that protects a $500,000 business can be scaled to protect a $15 million business. Just has more zeros. In this finale, we're going to be using 3 boring business examples. It's going to be the commercial nighttime cleaning service, the parking lot business, and the port-o-potty rental business. And we are going to walk through 2 paths for each. Path A will be passing the business on to your heirs. Path B will be selling the business and protecting the money. And before we go further, remember this. This is not legal advice. This is not tax advice. This is only the map. Before you build a real structure, you take this map to a qualified estate attorney, tax professional, and or financial advisor who understands your state, your business, and your family situation. So before we get into either path, we need the foundation. This part applies to every boring business, whether it's the commercial cleaning office business or the parking spot rental, the vending machines, laundromats, different businesses, but same foundation. You need 3 things in place. First is the revocable living trust. We'll keep it simple since we discussed it in part 4. The trust is a legal box. You put your important assets into that box: business interests, real estate, bank accounts, and ownership documents, etc. While you are alive, you control the box. You are the trustee. You are still in charge. You can still buy, sell, manage, and operate. But when you die, the person you selected steps in and takes over without dragging everything through court. No probate, no family members guessing what you wanted, no court casually deciding the timeline of your legacy. The trust is not magic. It's a set of written instructions. It says who controls the assets, who benefits from them, and what happens when you die or cannot make decisions anymore. In plain English, a will tells the court what you wanted. A trust helps your family avoid needing the court in the first place. That means the assets actually have to be placed into the trust or connected to the trust. A trust with nothing in it is just a fancy folder. 2, the family LLC or the family limited partnership. In part 4, we talked about the limited liability company as an asset protection tool. Now that same structure gets a second job. It becomes a wealth transfer tool. A family LLC is not just about sounding official. It gives the family a rule book. It says who owns what, who can vote, who can sell, who can manage the business, and what happens if someone dies, gets sued, divorces, or wants out. That matters because family and business can get messy fast. The LLC helps separate emotion from the rules. In simple terms, you create an entity like a family LLC that owns the business assets. Over time, you give or transfer small ownership interests to your heirs or to a trust for their benefit. And because those small interests do not control the company and are not easy to sell, they may qualify for valuation discounts. A small piece of a company is usually worth less to an outside buyer than full control of the company. Why? Because the person who owns that small piece may not be able to make decisions, force a sale, or easily sell it to someone else. So for tax purposes, that small piece may be valued lower than the full math would suggest. But this must be done correctly. You need real paperwork, real appraisals, and real professional guidance. This is not a handshake strategy. This is how families move ownership carefully, legally, and deliberately while keeping control where it belongs. 3, the document portfolio. Now this part I call Legacy 10. So before you get overwhelmed, remember this. The documents are not the legacy. The documents protect the legacy. The real legacy is the business, the cash flow, the property, the lessons, and the family stability you are trying to leave behind. And these documents are how you keep those things from falling apart. Every business owner needs a secure vault with these 10 items. 1. The revocable living trust. It's your private rule book. 2. The pour-over will, the backup plan. 3. Financial power of attorney, which names who can handle your money if you cannot. 4. Healthcare power of attorney and living will. It names who can make medical decisions, if you cannot speak. 5. Operating agreement or partnership agreement. This is the company rule book. Number 6, the buy-sell agreement. It's a contract that says who can buy your ownership, how the price is determined, and where the money comes from. The buy-sell agreement keeps ownership from becoming chaos. Without it, the wrong person could end up owning part of the company. Number 7, business valuation appraisal, a professional estimate of what the business is worth. Number 8, life insurance policy audit. This checks who owns the policy, who receives the money, and whether it matches the estate plan. Number 9, gifting records and meeting minutes, paperwork for every ownership transfer. And finally, number 10, business succession and management plan. If something happened to you on Sunday, who opens the business on Monday? Who calls the employees? Who talks to the bank? Who has the passwords? Who knows the customers? Who can sign checks? Who knows where the insurance paperwork are? If nobody knows, you do not have a succession plan. You have a hope, and hope is not a plan. Now let's talk about heirs, those who inherit what you've built. Wealthy families don't just hand over money and hope everyone figures it out. Leaving money is not enough. Money without training can disappear. Money without purpose can weaken the people it was supposed to help. The goal is not just to leave assets. The goal is to leave structure, knowledge, and responsibility. For this, we're going to be looking at some tools. Tool 1, the Roth IRA for a child employee. Now, we're not advocating for child labor here, but having your heirs perform age-appropriate tasks like organizing supplies, helping with data entry, filing paperwork, or general help around the shop, these can work beautiful for active, boring businesses, such as the commercial nighttime cleaning service or port-o-potty rental company. The key is this. The work must be real. The pay must be reasonable. The records must be clean. And this doesn't mean that you fake a job for your child. No, that's not the point. But if the child is truly working in the business, then earned income can become the seed for long-term investing. That earned income can be used to fund a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is funded with after-tax dollars, but the growth can become tax-free if the rules are followed. So instead of giving your child random cash that disappears in shopping malls on clothes, phones, snacks, or nonsense, you use the business to teach work, discipline, ownership, and investing. Work creates income. Income can buy assets. Assets can grow while you sleep. The lesson is worth more than the money itself. Because this is where your heir gets a chance to realize something important. The wealthy do not always play a different game because they're smarter. Sometimes they just know the rules earlier. Tool 2, the intentionally defective grantor trust. Okay, I know the name is terrible. An intentionally defective grantor trust? It sounds like something that went wrong. But the defective part is intentional. It means the trust is designed so the assets can be outside your taxable income, while you may still pay income taxes connected to the trust. So why does that matter? Well, because when you pay those taxes, the trust assets can keep growing for your heirs without being drained by the tax bill. Here's a simpler version. You sell discounted LLC interest to the trust. The trust gives you a promissory note, which is basically an IOU. The business cash flow then makes payments on that IOU. Over time, the business moves into the trust for your heirs. You locked in today's value. So if the business grows a lot later, that future growth happens inside the trust, outside your personal estate. In simple terms, you freeze the value today. You move the future growth to the next generation. You keep the plan legal and controlled. That is why wealthy families use tools like this, not because they're smarter than everyone else, but because they plan early. Now let's apply it. Example one, the commercial nighttime cleaning service. This business is not mainly about equipment. It's about contracts, people, trust, access, keys, schedules, and reliability. If something happens to you, who knows the clients? Who has the building access? Who knows the supervisors? Who can keep the contracts alive? For this type of business, the best tool is usually a succession buy-sell agreement funded with life insurance. The life insurance provides the cash. Your family gets paid, the business keeps running, employees keep working, the customers do not panic. You also need a key person retention plan because in a cleaning business, the supervisors are gold. But in a service business, the system is the asset. Example two, the parking lot business. This one is real estate, dirt, asphalt, location, access, and cash flow. The best structure here is usually a family LLC combined with discounted gifting. You place the parking lots into an LLC. Then over time, you transfer small ownership interests to your heirs or to trusts for their benefit. The rents continue, the land appreciates, the trustee manages the structure, and the family keeps control. A parking lot may not be exciting, but boring income that keeps showing up is exactly what makes it valuable. Example three, the port-o-potty rental business. This business may look dirty from the outside, but from a wealth building point of view, it can be very clean. You have equipment, routes, repeat customers, contracts, a service people need even when the economy slows down. That makes it a strong candidate for IDGT or the intentionally defective grantor trust. There's also another smart structure. Separate the equipment from the operating business. One LLC owns the toilets, the trucks, and physical assets. Another LLC runs the service company, manages the customers, hires employees, and operates the routes. The operating company leases equipment from the equipment company. Why do this? Because it separates risk, creates cleaner books, makes assets easier to value, and gives you more flexibility when gifting, selling, borrowing, or expanding. That is how a dirty business becomes a clean legacy machine. Up to now, we've been talking about keeping the business in the family, how to protect your assets and pass it down. But sometimes legacy doesn't mean your children or your heirs run the business. Sometimes legacy means you sell the machine and protect the money. Because the business was never the final destination. The business was the vehicle. The real destination was freedom, stability, and control. How you structure the sale of a business can make the difference between a clean exit and a tax disaster. The sale price is not the same as the money you keep. A buyer may offer you a big number, but taxes, debt, deal structure, legal fees, and timing decide how much actually lands in your pocket. So don't just ask, what is the sale price? Ask, what do I keep after the deal is done? There are two basic sale structures every owner needs to understand. First, the asset sale. In an asset sale, the buyer purchases the pieces of the business, the trucks, the equipment, the contracts, the customer list, the name, the inventory. Buyers often like asset sales because they get a cleaner start. But sellers need to be careful. If you own equipment that has been depreciated for tax purposes and you sell that equipment for more than its reduced tax value, part of the gain may be taxed as ordinary income through depreciation recapture. That can hurt, especially for equipment-heavy businesses. A porta-potty company with trucks, pumps, trailers, and thousands of units could have a serious tax issue if the sale is not structured carefully. Asset sales are not always bad, but you need to understand the tax result before you sign. Second, the entity sale. In an entity sale, the buyer purchases your ownership interest in the company itself. For the seller, this can be cleaner. Instead of selling every truck, contract, toilet, and customer relationship separately, you're selling the company interest. That may allow more of the gain to be treated as long-term capital gain, depending on the structure and tax rules. The point is not that one structure is always perfect. The point is that you need to understand the negotiation before the buyer's lawyer writes the agreement, because the deal structure decides how much money stays yours. Good records matter here. If your company's records are messy, buyers may push for an asset sale because they don't want hidden problems. But if your company is clean, organized, insured, documented, and properly structured, you may have more power to negotiate. Good records are not just for tax season. Good records can increase the value of the business. Now let's apply the sale path. Example 1, selling part of a commercial nighttime cleaning service. You built a strong regional cleaning company, a national company once into your market. You're not ready to retire, but you are ready to take some chips off the table. So you sell 60% of the company. Now, the most important document becomes the new operating agreement. It must answer the hard questions. How are profits split? Who makes decisions? Can they force you to sell later? Can you force them to buy the rest later? How is the final price determined? What happens if you want out? This is where put options and call options matter. A put option may let you force the buyer to purchase your remaining ownership later. A call option may let them force you to sell later. Those details decide whether you have a clean exit or become trapped as a minority owner in a company you no longer control. Example 2, selling a parking lot portfolio. Parking lots are real estate, and real estate owners often face one brutal problem: large, unrealized gains. You bought the lots years ago. The city grew around you. The land value exploded. Now a buyer wants the whole portfolio. Great. But if you sell outright, the tax bill may show up immediately. One strategy some owners explore is a deferred sales structure, such as a deferred sales trust or installment style planning. The basic idea is this: instead of receiving all the cash at once, the proceeds are structured to pay you over time. That can spread the tax burden over multiple years and keep more capital working. This is not something you do casually. You need a serious tax attorney, a qualified advisor, and a structure that is legitimate from day one. The goal is not just to sell. The goal is to sell without handing away more than necessary in the first tax year. Example 3, selling a minority interest in a port-o-potty business. Let's say you don't want to retire. Let's say you want to grow, and a private equity group offers to buy 40% of your company. They bring capital, you bring operations. Together you expand the route network, buy more units, hire more drivers, and enter new markets. This can work, but only if the operating agreement protects you. One key term in the distribution waterfall, one key term is the distribution waterfall. It's just a fancy way of saying who gets paid first, who gets paid second, who gets paid last. You may structure it so business expenses and your management salary are paid first. Then investors receive an agreed return. Then remaining profits are split. The details here matter because private equity does not invest because they like the blue toilets. They invest because they want a return. A large check can make a bad deal look good, but once you sell part of the company, you're no longer the only voice in the room. Voting rights, distribution rules, exit rights, debt rules, and management authority matters. But money is only one part of the deal. The control terms decide whether you still own a business or just own a problem. Most families don't lose wealth because they're lazy. They lose it because they're uninformed. They didn't know where the documents were, who was in charge, or what the money was actually for. That's why legacy isn't a stack of papers. It's a conversation. You aren't telling your family they're rich. You're telling them they have a responsibility. You aren't raising heirs to spend a fortune. You're raising stewards to protect the mission. The boring path to wealth was never actually about toilets, parking lots, or vending machines. Those were just the machines. The real goal was control. Control over your time, your income, and control over your family's future. Your business wasn't built to die with you or be picked apart in probate. It was built to be the foundation of a stable life, not just a flashy one. If this is your first time here, welcome. This channel exists to take the big systems, estate planning, tax structures, business acquisitions, and drag them into the light. Powerful people use this machinery quietly while telling everyone else that's not for you. We tend to disagree. We don't worship complexity here. We dissect it. Because usually, the only thing keeping you locked out isn't a lack of intelligence, it's a lack of exposure. Now the boring path is complete. You've seen how simple businesses create cash flow and how structures protect that freedom. But this finale isn't the end. It's the proof that every piece was connected. If this changed your perspective, go back to the beginning of the series and study the machines. Then, don't just build a business, build a bridge. The goal was never just to get rich. It was to make sure people you love never have to start from zero. Now, go build your bridge.